Which leads us here to Michael Wolff. I guess before we'll play this, let's give the caveat on Michael Wolff, okay? He's, how would you describe him? A fabulist? I think that's probably the best way. I'll steal that
He's had
from
a lot of access.
Michael Tracy. He is somebody who simultaneously is incredibly connected, knows the entire New York elite, written books about Rupert Murdoch, worked at Vanity Fair, one of the most, honestly, he kind of reminds me of Epstein. Like, he's one of those people who's just everywhere at all times, seems to know everybody, had this incredible access to the first Trump administration.
Still has sources inside the Trump. He wrote like 4 different books about Trump.
Yeah, he wrote, I mean, the most famous book is Fire and Fury, where, you know, it came under a lot of journalistic scrutiny because he did basically admit to like making up a lot of quotes and everything was like deep background. It's very Bob Woodward-esque in terms of describing a scene based upon reassembling others, but stating it as fact. So I have a lot of quibble about that. And you shouldn't 100% take anything that the guy says to the bank, but I will also say he does know a lot, right? He knows a lot of these people. He knows all of New York society. He spent a ton of time with Epstein, with Bannon, with, I mean, the entire White House. Listen, before he was persona non grata in the White House, it was like a joke amongst the White House press corps about how much access Michael Wolff had. He was rolling in and around
the He was just like hanging out in the White House every day.
People understand. That's crazy. That never happens. I was there. I literally watched a lot of this happen. It was open, in terms of the amount of access that Michael Wolff had. It was unprecedented. It was part of the original chaos. And he eventually writes the Fire and Fury book, makes millions of dollars, and it's a massive bestseller. But the point is that, yes, I understand he's a sketchy figure, so always take some of that with a grain of salt. But of course, he does have his sources, and he, at least on this topic, he spent a lot of time with these people. Here is what Michael Wolff says is the real falling out between, or is the real, quote, wonderful secret between Trump and Epstein, laid out here. Let's take a listen.
The birthday letter that Donald Trump apparently wrote for Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday, and this idea that they shared a wonderful secret. What do you think he's referring to?
I think that he is referring to the girlfriend that they shared at that point in time, 92, 93. So there was a woman, and as far as I know, she's not underage, but who they literally shared, who literally went back and forth between these two guys.
And she went back and forth in the same bed with the two of them? Was it a threesome, or she was dating both of them separately?
I don't know the mechanics. I know that during the same period, and they openly, this wasn't hidden from either one, they openly shared this particular woman, that she went out with both of them at the same time.
Okay, so that is Wolff's explanation. I mean, honestly, it kind of makes sense because this is documented that they did have the same girlfriend, basically around the same time, right before he started dating Melania Trump. It's literally right in that same time frame.
Yeah, it also does sort of fit with like the almost like romantic nature of that
letter. Yes, I agree, totally. Yeah.
Like if they're sharing a girlfriend, you are like sort of by proxy in this like weird romantic triangle with him. Right. So it does kind of make sense. And, he says there that this woman, as far as we know, was like of age, so it's not about her being
she was 20, right?
Underage.
Yeah,
I don't know
No,
exactly.
but that's what
young, that's what he said.
Right.
Young but of age. But it also just stems to like, this is a close relationship between Trump and Epstein. This isn't someone that you see occasionally at a cocktail party. You happen to be mixing in some of the same circles occasionally. No, this is your buddy. Like, that is as close a friendship as one can possibly imagine, I guess we could say.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I said this on the show yesterday. I'm 33, been around with my friends and all that stuff. If somebody ever asked me to write them a birthday letter, that's not what's going in the birthday letter. And that's the part where I find really creepy.
So creepy. Yeah. And, okay, this is a side note, but I feel like once you get to a certain age, totally making a big deal over your own birthday is so narcissistic. narcissistic and weird. It's
Thank
such a freaking red flag,
start
too.
snapping. Yeah,
It's
let's all
so
start
weird,
snapping.
right?
I totally
I don't
agree.
know. I'm very opposed to people over the age of like 21 making a
gonna say
big deal.
25 is my cutoff.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
give them 25.
Yeah.
Then
Because now you can run a
okay.
car. It's over.
Yeah.
You're officially an adult.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, time passed another year. We're supposed to all celebrate you. Like I don't know.
Thank you.
To me, it's
I'm
weird.
with you. I've never understood it. It's like, this weird birthday privilege.
I feel like it's a rich person thing to, I'm going to have a big party for my 50th birthday. It's like, I don't know.
I'm not so sure about that. I've always thought that it's a way for people to, quote, feel special in their lives, which is kind of sad, but this is a much deeper psychological conversation for birthday obsession in the West. In most of the rest of the world, they were like, yeah, happy birthday, whatever. All right, so let's get then to a video that we also wanted to underscore here about Galain Maxwell. One of these women is Annie Farmer. She was interviewed by ABC News. We just want to underscore, the role that Galain Maxwell actually played in this entire scheme and kind of fits more broadly, with all of this stuff around Trump and Epstein and about potentially, if a pardon does happen, kind of what we are all obscuring here. Let's take a listen.
She didn't just procure girls and women for Epstein, but she herself participated in their abuse. I think that's an important thing for people to understand. And then she also, made threats. She made threats to my sister, to our family, when it was clear that my sister had reported her. And so I think that to be told that suddenly she's being brought to the table as a potential source of information when she's previously been charged with perjury by the government is very confusing and unsettling.
It's important, to listen to her. By the way, I did receive a very long message from Michael Tracy yesterday about Galain Maxwell and our accusation of rape. So, listen, I'll give the guy his credit. Here's what he said. He says, Maxwell is not accused of rape in criminal trial, much less convicted of it. 2 of the former claimed sexual activity with Epstein was not illegal per the very prosecution judge instructions to the jurors, and even claimed the sexual acts in which Maxwell was alleged to have participated in no way rose to the level of anything that could be reasonably described as rape. I guess what I think we were trying to say is that she participated, according to the victims here, in the actual scheme of which she was eventually then convicted. So,
well, and as Annie Farmer there, these 2 women, Annie and her older sister Maria, just their allegations are that Maria is a painter. She graduates from some school in New York where Jeffrey Epstein is a big benefactor. And in fact, she, at their final show, there's a big art show as like part of the graduation, and buyers come in and her painting's sold. And then according to her, the head of the school comes over and is like, you're not selling to them, you're selling to this guy, Jeffrey Epstein, even though it was for a lower price. And then that is her entree to, this world where they begin, we're gonna make your dreams come true and we're gonna fly you here and we're gonna support you in your work, et cetera. And then they fly her out to Wexner's estate in Ohio, and that's where she alleges that both Jeffrey and Galain molested her. She freaks out. She, basically runs away, hides, flies home, and then she is the first one to file a report with the police and ultimately the FBI. Her sister, and I can't remember exactly the timeline here, but at some point, Jeffrey and Galain had said, you have a younger sister?
Yeah.
Can we meet her? Can you bring her to dinner as well? And that's Annie. And Annie at the time, I believe, was like 16. And so they have dinner with Annie, and then they do the same thing with her. We're going to make your dreams come true. We're going to fly you here. We're going to send you to this incredible school, I believe in Spain, and you're going to get to do all the things that you desire. And then she also is, abused, sexually abused. I'm not sure if she was abused both by Jeffrey and Galain, but I know Maria Farmer claims that she was. So, and there are other victims as well who have similar stories, where the first time that they are molested by Jeffrey Epstein, Galain is there involved also directly in the abuse. And we know, of course, that, her whole thing was she would go and she would find these girls, often who came from troubled backgrounds, already victims of abuse like Virginia Giuffre, or, their family life was a mess. They were impoverished. They had all these sorts of vulnerabilities that she would then exploit. And she created this, this conveyor belt of young underage girls for Jeffrey Epstein to abuse and exploit and potentially traffic. So that's what has been alleged against Galain Maxwell. And I just think it's really important as this propaganda effort goes forward to paint her like she was some sort of a victim and like why is she even in prison if she, if there are no other men that she was trafficking girls to, et cetera. Like this person deserves to be in prison. And in fact, the allegations that were made against her in court, Michael Tracy is correct that they didn't make a lot of these allegations against her in court. They just did enough to get a conviction and get her put away. And they did not actually air all of the different allegations. Not to mention, I'm sure over, that number of years, some of this would be, of course, she said, and difficult to prove,
almost
et cetera.
25, 30 years
So, but in any case, he is true that they took this very narrow approach, but that is not even close to the entirety of the allegations which have been made against her. And again, I think another thing to keep in mind when you are considering the credibility of these allegations, multiple of these girls, now women, have told a very similar story about how they were brought in and how they were groomed by her and the way the abuse unfolded, which I think lends them credibility to their claims.
I totally agree. I mean, it's obvious. And yeah, I mean, as this all goes forward, everyone needs to pay very, very, very close attention because, look, it almost, again, behooves me to lay out who is Galain Maxwell, the daughter of Robert Maxwell, the known Mossad asset, one of the richest men in the world at that time, multi-billionaire in the UK, dies under suspicious circumstances, all of these insane connections to all of these sketchy arms deals across the world, including having associated with Epstein, with Donald Trump, with all of the world's richest and most powerful. That's literally how they met, guys. Like, she is, in my opinion, one of the major keys to the story. And so the fact, again, just to say that she was never interviewed by the Department of Justice until today about third-party individuals is patently crazy and backs up everybody who said in 2019 that entire prosecution was a sham effort to try and actually was much more of a cover-up, limited hangout, since we're all using the Watergate parlance now more today. And anybody who questioned this is more vindicated today than ever before.
Yep.
All right, let's get to Israel. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.